The Lost World of Agharti, Episode 5. The Symbolic Earth.
Agharti is archetype, the inner world of consciousness.
What if the hollow earth was never only about secret doors in ice and corridors under mountains, but about you? What if the map to Agharti, the hidden kingdom beneath the world, has always been a map of the mind, a lantern for the soul, a geometry of the heart? In legend after legend, the hero descends, beneath cities, beneath desert sands, beneath the familiar face they once wore. They come back changed, luminous, speaking softly and seeing clearly. The door they entered looked like rock. The door they exited was awareness. Hold that question in your chest. Where is below when the geography is inside?
Thesis: Agharti is a depth, not just a place.
Across cultures, the world beneath names more than caverns and catacombs. It names the depth dimension of experience, the unconscious, the soul's archive, the vault where unspent meanings wait. Dante called it a descent through circles of distortion to the unfreezing of the heart. Kabbalists mapped it as shells to be purified and sparks to be released. Hindu cosmology layered the underworlds not as hells alone, but as realms of energy and guarded wisdom. Jung treated the whole descent as a drama of the psyche, the meeting of the shadow, the reconciliation of opposites, the emergence of the self. Alec Maclellan collects the outer legends and arrives at a gentle, necessary conclusion. Whether physical, psychic, or mythic, the persistence of Agharti points to a fundamental truth, that humanity senses another world beneath the surface of this one. Let's walk that inner geology, slowly, soberly, and with reverence.
The ladder and the labyrinth. Inner geographies across cultures.
Before we take specific paths, notice the pattern that repeats from civilization to civilization. Descent as the beginning of wisdom. Guardians at thresholds, serpents, angels, monks, demons, saints, testing worthiness. Hidden cities as repositories of order, knowledge, healing, or law. Return as the mark of completion. Wisdom doesn't end in a cave. It re-enters the world. However you name it, Agharti, Shambhala, Patala, Hades, the Qliphoth, the unconscious, this four-beat rhythm holds. The symbolic earth is a curriculum. Recall a time life took you down before it lifted you up. What did that descent teach that daylight never could?
Dante's descent, ice at the core and the turning point.
Dante Alighieri begins in a dark wood where the straight path is lost. Guided by Virgil, he moves downward through 9 circles of hell. Each circle is a psychological distortion. Desire frozen into obsession, anger hardened into cruelty, intellect severed from compassion. At the center of the earth, Dante doesn't find fire. He finds ice. Satan is frozen waist deep, wings beating a cold wind that freezes his own prison. Evil, Dante realizes, is stasis, the refusal to flow. The turning point is exquisite. Dante and Virgil climb down Satan's flank, and then, in a quiet pivot, everything inverts. What was down becomes up. They pass the gravitational center and begin to rise toward purgatory and, in time, paradise. The symbol is crystalline. True ascent starts when you reach the most honest point of descent, when you face what freezes you and turn.
Lesson from Dante's Earth. The deepest below is where we meet the frozen places in ourselves. Melt begins with truth.
Identify one frozen area, an old resentment, a long anxiety. Place a hand on your chest. Breathe into it for 10 slow breaths. Name it without attack. That naming is the first thaw.
Kabbalah's twin trees, life, death, and the work of integration.
The Jewish mystical map offers a double image. The tree of life, Sephirot, 10 emanations from crown, Keter, to kingdom, Malkut, and its mirror, the Qliphoth, the husks or shells, residues and distortions of divine energies. In this view, descent into the husks isn't voyeuristic evil, it's repair work. You descend to lift the sparks buried in distortion, transforming husk into vessel, curse into blessing.
Yesod, foundation, names the astral imaginal matrix, the bridge between inner and outer. Tiferet, beauty, holds balance, the heart's sunlight where empathy, courage, and clarity meet. Da'at, knowledge, sometimes counted, sometimes concealed, marks a threshold. To cross it requires humility, because knowledge without love collapses into control.
The symbolic earth here is ethical. Boundaries, circles, seals, protect meaning. Geometry is a way to hold energy without breaking it. To descend is to bring order to the chaos within. To ascend is to restore flow from source to world. What spark is trapped in a habit or vice you dislike? Discipline is not punishment, it is the rescue party.
Hindu lokas and the serpent wisdom below.
Hindu cosmology mirrors the human nervous system with a stack of worlds, lokas. Patala, the subterranean realms, are not simply punishing pits. They are often jewel-lit halls ruled by nagas, serpent beings who guard treasures of wisdom. The serpent here is double. It warns and it teaches. At the base of the spine lies Kundalini, serpent power, coiled, sleeping, perilous or precious depending on how you approach it. Downward doesn't mean bad, it means foundational. You confront instinct, fear, libido, territory, the core drives. If you refuse descent, those drives rule you from the basement. If you descend consciously, with breath, ethics, and teacherly care, those same forces become fuel for love and insight. Body is earth, breath is wind, attention is fire, stillness is sky. The hollow earth of the body contains the temple by which you travel up and down. Seated, lengthen your spine, relax your jaw. Inhale gently into the lower belly, exhale longer than you inhale. Feel the basement of the breath. Ground is not grave, it is cradle.
Tibetan Shambhala and the Hidden Valleys, Bayul.
Tibetan lore speaks of Shambhala, not just a map point, but an axis of sanity, and of Bayul, hidden valleys that open when times are perilous and hearts are right. The doctrine can be read outwardly, geographies that conceal communities, and inwardly, states of mind that reveal when humility and heroism mature. Tibetan Buddhist practice refines mind stream, cultivating Rigpa, bare awareness, and bodhicitta, the vow to awaken for all. In this psychology, the world within is not a metaphor, it is the workspace. The caves of meditators are literal earth, yes, and also inner sancta, where distraction cannot easily trespass. The door does not open to the brash, it opens to the bound, those bound by vows to alleviate suffering. Which vow governs your inner journey? Without vows, power dilates ego. With vows, power serves.
Greek catabasis and the underworld of meaning.
The Greek imagination trained us to expect descent as curriculum. Orpheus enters Hades to recover his beloved and learns that impatience breaks miracles. Heracles descends to subdue the hound of death, strength crowned by self-command. Odysseus meets the dead for counsel. Heroism stumbles without ancestral knowledge. Plato turns the descent into interior architecture, the cave where shadows are mistaken for substance until one turns toward the light. Here, the symbolic earth says, the underworld is the undermeaning, memory, instinct, culture's residue. You cannot guide a city or a household if you won't sit with your dead, learn your myths, and distinguish shadow from form. Write the names of 3 elders, living or gone, whose counsel you trust. Spend 10 quiet minutes asking them inwardly, what am I not seeing? Listen without forcing an answer.
Sufi depths, heart as cave, heart as throne.
Sufism speaks of the qalb, heart, as the throne room of the real. There are veils to be lifted, stations to be matured, nafs, ego soul, to be refined through sincerity, remembrance, and service. The story of the cave of Hira, where Muhammad receives the first revelation, is a paradigm. Retreat into silence, meet the trembling, surrender to truth. In this path, the hidden kingdom is the heart sufficiently polished that it reflects the real without warping it. Masters hide not because truth is stingy, but because ego is sticky. Privacy protects purity.
The deepest earth is humility. The inner city lights when we put down the mirror we use to admire ourselves and pick up the lamp we use to search for the beloved. Christian interiors, the desert and the cloud.
Christian mysticism teaches in movements of deprivation and devotion. The Desert Fathers went into literal emptiness to encounter the inner menagerie, lust, rage, despair, pride, naming each beast and befriending none. Medieval texts like the Cloud of Unknowing counsel a darkness of the mind that is not depression, but reverent surrender, a willingness to let God be larger than our metaphors. The mythic earth becomes the harrowing of hell. Christ descends to the dead to free them, an archetype for the soul's work. We descend to liberate the exiled parts of ourselves, not to condemn them. Which inner outcast are you ready to welcome back with boundaries and love?
Indigenous portals, the sipapu and the dreaming.
Many indigenous traditions speak of emergence. In the American Southwest, the sipapu, a small hole at the center of a kiva, symbolizes the portal through which peoples entered this world from others below. In Australian Aboriginal cultures, the dreaming is not simply the past, but an ever-present layer, a time-space we enter through ceremony, song, land care, and story. These are not primitive fables. They are ecological metaphysics, metrics for right relation with land and kin. The symbolic earth here is communal. The below is ancestral law and land's memory, accessed by respect more than technique.
Treat these teachings with reverence. They are not decor for Western projects. Their inclusion here is a bow to their wisdom, not a claim to possess it. Jung's underworld, shadow, anima, animus, and the self.
Carl Jung's psychology is a cartography of the symbolic earth. Shadow. Everything we refuse to see in ourselves, talents and toxins alike, accumulates below. Anima, animus, the contrasexual inner figure. the key to unlocking empathy with the other within. Self, the organizing center and circumference, the city within where opposites reconcile. Jung's active imagination is a form of cave walking. You meet figures, ask them questions, observe without collapsing into credulity. The work is integration, not killing the dragon, but harnessing its heat to warm the village. Alchemy maps the process. Nigredo, blackening descent, albedo, whitening clarity, rubedo, reddening embodiment. The alchemist's furnace is your life. Their stone is a stable heart. Choose one trigger from this week. Journal the trigger as a character. Write a dialogue with them. Ask, what do you protect? What gift do you carry if I listen?
Agharti is the psyche's golden city.
Now, let the symbols overlay. The hidden kingdom is the integrated psyche. The king of the world is the self, not the ego inflated, but the center that serves the whole. The luminous inhabitants are the virtues when they are no longer strained. Courage that doesn't perform, compassion that doesn't exhaust, clarity that doesn't crow. The libraries are memories healed of shame. The laboratories are habits refined until they no longer leak. In this reading, Agharti is the promise that a human being can become internally lawful without becoming rigid, powerful without becoming cruel, deep without becoming obscure. You descend to collect what the surface neglected. You return to bless the village.
Maclellan's Bridge, literal, symbolic, and the third way.
Maclellan's contribution is a bridge, not an argument for credulity, not a triumph of reduction. He shows that legends of Agharti persist across languages and centuries because they point to something we need. For some, that need is met by a literal refuge. For others, by a symbolic sanctuary. For many, by a braid of both. Read generously, his conclusion is permission to work at both scales. Outer, remain open to mystery. The world is not exhausted by our current instruments. Inner, treat myth as manual. Descend with craft and vows. Return with bread, not boasts. The test of truth here is fruit. Does your reading of Agharti make you kinder, clearer, steadier? If not, read again.
The Neuroscience Echo, depth in the brain, depth in being.
Modern science, careful, provisional, offers metaphors that rhyme with the symbolic earth. The default mode network, DMN, goes quiet in deep meditation and sometimes during psychedelics. Beyond the chatter, subjects report openness, unity, hidden order. Predictive processing suggests the brain is a modeler of world and self. Descent work loosens overconfident models so fresh reality can enter. Memory reconsolidation shows that when you revisit a memory with care, its emotional charge can be recoded, sparks released from husks. These are not proofs of Shambhala. They are hints that depth is a real dimension of human functioning, and that descending with skill changes not only mood, but structure.
A descent protocol, practical, ethical, doable.
Vow. Articulate a single, sincere intention, I descend to serve, and revisit it daily. Breath. Morning and evening, 10 minutes of slow abdominal breathing. Lengthen the exhale. Journal. 1 page of truth without ornament. Label feelings, name patterns. Shadow practice. Weekly active imagination with a recurring trigger. Ask, don't accuse. Body, simple standing meditation or gentle qigong, let the body teach ground. Study, pick one text, Dante, a psalm, a sutra, an ode, and read it like a love letter, slowly, aloud. Service, weekly act with no witness and no reward. Let usefulness replace vanity. Silence, protect an hour a week for wordless being. No screens, no goals. Guide, where possible, work with a teacher or therapist who respects both depth and boundaries. Integration, after intense work, do something ordinary. Cook, clean, walk, so the gold returns to the village. Safety note, if dissent stirs trauma, pause and seek professional support. The point is transformation, not re-injury.
The Ascent Protocol, bringing the gold home.
Articulate what you learned in one sentence. Act on it within 24 hours in a practical way. Anchor it with a small symbol, a string on a wrist, a note on a mirror, to keep the lesson in reach. Ask someone you trust how your change feels from the outside. Abide, real change is measured in seasons, not afternoons.
The Planetary Mirror, Earth's Wounds, Our Descent.
The symbolic Earth now speaks through ecology. To descend today is also to face the grief of a warming world, to listen to land as teacher. Agharti becomes our responsibility to build hidden sanctuaries of sanity. Libraries, monasteries, kitchens, community gardens, clinics, where order, care, and memory survive the noise. The city beneath is wherever humans choose depth over spectacle. Where in your neighborhood could a small sanctuary begin? What vow would keep it honest?
What the demons teach when you listen.
In every tradition, the guardians of the underworld are frightening, but their pedagogy is precise. Fear asks for courage tied to curiosity. Lust asks for reverence for beauty without consumption. Anger asks for protection of the vulnerable without cruelty. Pride asks for dignity unhooked from domination. Despair asks for a practice of tiny faith. One breath, one kindness, one step. If you listen, even the fanged ones return their keys.
If Agharti is real, if Agharti is symbolic, the work is the same.
Whether you believe in an actual subterranean commonwealth or read Agharti as an inner archetype, the assignment converges. Make your inner city lawful. Use power as medicine, not theater. Guard timing and teach only what helps. Return quietly with bread. The world doesn't need more opinions about hidden kingdoms. It needs citizens of them.
Final thoughts. The door is where you are.
You don't need to reach the poles, or the Himalayas, or a desert sinkhole. The door to Agharti opens under your next honest breath, in the quiet courage of your next conversation, in the humility of your next apology, in the stillness between two thoughts, when the mind stops pawing at the world and simply receives. The earth beneath the earth is the depth beneath the day. Go there with vows. Come back with. If this journey illuminated something sleeping inside you, like the episode so it travels to other seekers, subscribe to Positive Vortex for the full Agharti series and our deep dives into consciousness, myth, and hidden history. Share your reflections below, literalist, symbolist, or both. What moved you, what challenged you, what you'll practice this week. If you want to help keep these ad-light, research-rich explorations coming, Tap thanks or join to support the channel. More than anything, carry this into your life. Build a small sanctuary of depth where you stand. The city below notices.